Hi, I'm Glenda Adkisson, the Executive Director of the Paducah Area Chapter of the American Red Cross. Thanks for joining us today. We're here to tell you about some exciting new programs that we have at the local chapter, and I have with me today Heidi Cox, the Director of our Health and Safety. And Heidi, I'm so glad to have you here, and I'm very excited about the new programs that we have in the area of health and safety. And most people by now are starting to understand that our three areas of service at the chapter are our military services, services to armed forces, processing emergency calls for between the active military and military families, our disaster services, which of course is a huge program that involves preparedness as well as disaster response, and then our health and safety. Of course, our blood services is a big part of what Red Cross does, but our blood center is in a different location at our local Paducah area. And then of course our chapter is at 8th and Monroe. And as Director of Health and Safety Services, can you first tell us a little bit about all of what you do, and then share with us the information on the new programs that are being implemented?
We have since I've been there, we have really been trying to expand our reach with CPR and first aid and who we target as an audience. We've always had workplace programs available where different businesses contact us. We'll go onto their site and teach CPR, or they have their instructors trained through us and they provide their own Red Cross certified instruction for CPR, bloodborne pathogens, first aid. What we're currently trying to do is meet the needs of not just the community and not just students, but even more workplaces, to offer an availability to those courses and those certifications, which are often required, to a wider variety of customers that may not be able to fit into a community class, may not belong to an organization or a business that offers that at a time convenient for them. So we've started in the last 2 years working to get an online program which offers most of the course online. The videos, the DVD portion, as well as the written test is all offered online. And then you can schedule with your local chapter, which would be us, to come in and demonstrate the skills you've learned online, and an instructor would be there to monitor your skills.
That's one thing that certainly I believe all of us are very excited about, because we're busy people.
Definitely.
We just work so many hours. Often people work shift hours. I suppose that if you stop by a convenience store, it's handy to go in and pick up a gallon of milk and the things that you need them to be open 24 hours a day, because sometimes it doesn't fit into an 8 to 5 kind of schedule. And meeting the needs of these people that are very busy people and doing it online, that is going to be such a wonderful service. And really, colleges are going to online programs because they are finding that to meet the needs of our community, we have to work around their schedule. So I'm really excited that is going to be at any time of the day or night. People can go online. And do they register online with, how does that all work?
One of the things we've developed over the last year and a half is also an easier to manipulate website. So if you go to paducahredcross.org and you go to health and safety classes, you just click on that on the main page, it'll have a little register online button for different courses. And when you click to that, it's going to take you off-site of our website, and it'll just plug you in on how to register, how to pay for, how to select the course you need. The advantage, of course, of that is if you've forgotten that, my certificate's going to end in October, and now it's 2 days and I have to get recertified, we may not have that local class for you, but you can do that. You can call the office, schedule a skill session, and have that done within a short amount of time.
What courses will be available?
Well, that's the other beauty of this program. Some of the courses that we currently do not have locally just because of the population group, we may not have enough to merit a class, will be offered. And some of those were classes we didn't even realize were out there, which was universal precautions for tattoo artists. It's an area that's definitely needed. There's, bloodborne pathogens are a real concern at this time in the United States, and that would be something that a tattoo artist or skin piercing would need to be aware of. It's online. CPR for the professional rescuer. We have classes we offer once a month. However, many nursing students find they've just been accepted, or they're wanting to be accepted, and they can't get into a class. It's already full.
Can you explain the difference in the regular CPR, or what we call CPR for the lay responder, and then the CPR for the professional rescuer?
The biggest difference in those two courses is the professional rescuer earns you a certification. It's 2 years, but it earns you a certification. That means you need to use this when you're in an emergency situation. It means you will use more complex instruments, for example, a bag valve to administer oxygen instead of just doing rescue breathing, which is person to person. It means you will also learn how to do two-person CPR. You'll learn how to adjust the oxygen or connect oxygen to actual breathing apparatuses. So it's more involved. It's what your firefighters would be certified in, all your pre-nursing students, and many of your nursing, the women who are already out nursing or men who are out nursing, will use that to become recertified.
So pretty much anyone that's in the healthcare industry or maybe a first responder would want that professional rescue.
We think of it in terms of healthcare or rescue.
Okay.
So both of those. But again, at the chapter we only have 1 to 2 classes a month in that. And if you find out that you're going to go into nursing school and that deadline has passed, you may have to put off a semester.
So then they go in, and it's easy because they can sign up online, and then they complete the coursework, and then what do they do to complete that course?
When they complete the coursework online, the company that is monitoring the online coursework sends the local chapter, which in our case would be us, notification that the written portion has been completed, and the person has passed, and they are responsible then to call the chapter office and schedule a skill session. One of the things we as Red Cross certification want to avoid is to do all of these courses online where you're not really demonstrating physical skills. You're using a mouse, for example, to click where you would be on the person and to demonstrate how you would do CPR. We know for a fact in real life it's not going to be on a screen. It's going to be a live human, and your compressions better be deep enough for that live person to benefit them.
Well, and of course you said live person, and I know you mean a real person.
Right.
When do you actually start CPR? And of course, when that situation is there, it's unsettling because you are in an emergency situation, and often these are people that may or may not be in that kind of profession. They just may be a neighbor or a friend that comes up on someone and there's no one else to respond. So when would you use the CPR in the first place?
That's the beauty of training, because then you're ready to respond. It has become so ingrained in you. And you would use it after you notice that, one, you've checked for breathing, you've tilted their head back, they're not breathing, you can't hear, you can't sense any breathing, and when you've checked their pulse and see that you're not getting a heartbeat, you're not getting any kind of pulse, that's when you would start CPR. You wouldn't start CPR if you saw what we call signs of life, because you can actually do some damage. So you would start CPR then, you would make sure that you had given the 2 rescue breaths and then the 30 compressions. And at that point, even prior to starting CPR, you better have designated that somebody's called for help, because that response time in Paducah, I'm told, can be 4 to 10 minutes.
Which is really very fast.
It is extremely fast. When you're living in a rural area, you're looking anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, which would be a very long time.
So really, you're looking at a person, they have no pulse, they have no respirations. And as we all know, with that oxygen getting to the brain, within a very short few minutes, there will be brain damage. So the only hope someone may have in that situation is a person that is going to be administering CPR. There is another step to that. And of course that would be included in this skill session as you're just talking about, and that would be the AED, which is, can you tell us a little bit about that and explain a little bit about
Well,
that?
the AED is such a handy, this is one.
And what does that stand for, the AED?
AED is automatic external defibrillator, and what it's going to do is administer a shock only if it's needed. And why it would administer a shock would be when you place it on, you've been doing CPR, somebody has brought this to you, you're going to put the pads on the individual, and it's going to actually analyze to see if there is some sort of heart rhythm. It will not deliver a shock, for example, if their blood vein is clogged and that's why they're having a heart attack. It will if they are in VTAC or VFib.
Now, what
which
is
means
VTAC and VFib?
it means an impulse that is not regular.
Okay,
So the
for the
heart
heart.
is either
Okay.
fluctuating really fast, which doesn't allow the chambers to completely close or to completely pump. So it's going to administer a shock to hopefully reset those electric impulses. And for many people, especially even young people who may be undiagnosed with some kind of, heart problems, an AED is a lifesaver. And for every minute that an AED is withheld, the chance of bringing that person back and restoring their heart rhythms decreases 10%. So you can see why it'd be really important to have this in a facility.
And I know that you are particularly very passionate about this, having sons that play football and athletes and daughters that are very active, and knowing that that can truly be the difference in life or death. And so who all needs to have an AED at their location?
Well, in our area, we have so many churches that are extending their community outreach by having gyms or multi-purpose facilities. And what you're having is the weekend warrior who goes out and plays volleyball or plays basketball. And those are going to be targets for an undiagnosed heart problem that an AED could really respond to. Now, I've heard from several churches, we're really located close to the hospital. But by the time you've made the call, the ambulances come and they've gotten them to the hospital, quite a bit of time has passed. And most churches, most multi-purpose facilities, even if they're not churches, YMCAs, whatever, can have a defibrillator on site within reach and be there, restore that heart rhythm, and you've just, essentially restored that person's life. Right. You've saved their life, and that's what Red Cross is about, preparing in advance to save someone's life.
Right, and that is the only chance. I mean, the fact is, if someone has no respirations and no pulse, they're
gone.
Essentially gone.
Right.
So it's unsettling to people, and often they're fearful before they go through the training about, doing compressions and doing rescue breaths. But the fact is, this person does not have a chance outside of that if there's not a responder within how many minutes would you say? Again,
the fire department gives me the time frame of 4 minutes.
And when does brain damage start? From the time someone finds them.
Right. And if they're not getting oxygen, it starts within about 2 minutes. I mean, we're talking a short amount of time. And that's assuming you saw them fall. If you come upon somebody, or if it's taken you a while to get there, you've already had that time passing. So you really want to be careful with that. Unfortunately, the beauty of this is it's handy and nice to have around, but if you're not trained to use it, or if you're afraid to use it, which many people are afraid to use a technological device, then you won't use it, and you will not access it. So this is a simple, this one actually will even, you can put your head underneath to keep it elevated. Actually, it's like this to keep it elevated and to keep their airway open. It's a one-piece pad that you're going to be putting on the individual. And this one is just a one-piece pad. Some will actually have two. It gives you the location for this. It's going to be right across their heart. You're going to place the pads on. You're going to connect it to the machine. It's going to tell you exactly what to do. And the first thing it's going to do is tell you to keep people away while it analyzes the heart rhythm. It's going to detect if there is some sort of abnormal heart rhythm. If it doesn't detect a heart rhythm, it's not going to advise you to shock. If it does, it's going to advise you to shock, and you will push this button. You won't be connected. You won't want to touch that person or have anyone else, but you'll push that button. That is the extent of what you have to know, and it gives you pictures.
And also is audible.
Right,
correct?
it's going to tell
instructions.
you. Once the shock is delivered, it doesn't mean you're done with CPR. It's going to tell you to start CPR. This particular machine, when you're pressing and you're doing CPR, will even tell you need to do the compressions harder.
And it tells you, to push
To
harder.
compress harder.
And then
Or
it
will
tells
say-
you to deliver another shot, move back, and
It will
those-
tell
those
you
things.
after 2 minutes of CPR, it'll say, stop CPR, analyze the rhythm again. So it's really simple to use. This happens to be a Zoll unit. The Red Cross, as a national organization, facilitates the sales of AED. We feel strongly about each facility, each workplace, schools, workout facilities, all having AEDs. And they facilitate the sales of 3 different companies' AED products. So we facilitate Cardiac Science, Philips, and this Zoll unit. And AEDs, we can sell them for less. We can facilitate that sale less than if you would go online and buy them.
Well,
so
and
it's a buy local item.
Right, exactly. Now, with health and safety, that is really the only revenue generating program
Correct.
that American Red Cross has. And so many people get confused about the funding for our local chapter because American Red Cross is such a large organization and the International Red Cross is an international organization. It's confusing because so many people think, well, it's so big that they get government funding or they get money from FEMA, which of course is not true. Our
Correct.
community services, whether it's helping someone immediately after a home fire or opening up a shelter during an ice storm, or whatever we do as far as our local services are funded locally. People don't know that. And of course, those are revenue depleting programs because we are giving financial assistance to these families that have just experienced a disaster. The health and safety, of course, it certainly is a healthier program now that you have been really implementing so many new programs, but whatever is left over after we pay the instructor and pay for the books actually goes in that little bit of revenue that's generated through that program or the sale of an AED goes in to help our community. And those services stay right here in the Paducah area and go back to help those people that are in disaster or help our community prepare for disasters. So this is, when you mention that about buy local, this is such an important part of this, and it's a very important piece of equipment for churches or gyms or organizations or anyone place of business to have at their place of business. Can you give us an idea about the range of expense for AED?
A normal AED that you can arrange through our chapter, you will have a savings from a retail cost. We're about $100 to $200 less on the units. However, they start at about $1,400. Seems like a huge investment until you think, what is one life worth? The beauty of this is, however, these companies are also then kicking back to the chapter a donation. It's essentially a donation for getting their product out there. So we have totally screened these 3 companies. We're thrilled that they want to work with us on this. And they obviously know, since we're in the training business, we can promote their products, encourage the sale of these products, because they're going to save lives, which again dovetails into the mission of the Red Cross, which is to prepare for, prevent emergencies. These are two emergencies, life-threatening emergencies. And I'd bring up our training dollars are still they're a reasonable amount for training. We're obviously not getting rich off of our training dollars, but it is one way to invest in your community, to invest in all of those people that, should you be in a disaster, are going to be the first ones to respond to you.
Right, and it's such a win-win situation.
Correct.
My husband actually had a lady that he worked with, and it was actually after he had left that place of business, but she was a young lady in her 30s, and they came in and found that she had no respirations, she had no pulse. The place of business didn't have an AED. I'm not sure that they could have saved her. Had they had it, you never know.
Right.
But they didn't have an AED. Had they known that this was going to happen, $1,400, $1,500, whatever an AED would have cost, and to get people trained, they wouldn't have thought about it twice. They would have wanted to have that there. If it was a member of my family, a member of your family, certainly, even a couple of $1,000s, we would do anything almost to
Correct.
give those people that we love a chance to live, a chance at having any kind of medical situation that they have corrected. But they don't have a chance if you can't get them to the hospital and you can't keep their pulse or their respirations going long enough. So this is a wonderful program, and I think that even if you've had training, even if you know that and you've had that experience, the training, just having an AED that still says, now here's what you need to do. You may need to hear it at the moment because it does make people nervous whenever something like that's going on.
Well, the very first prompt on this machine is stay calm. So it's even
right.
encouraging you, stay calm, and it'll walk you through the system. It walks you through both audibly but also visually as it lights up. It'll have words on here. It is designed to take away any fear that you may be administering it incorrectly.
Yes, and when you sell or facilitate the sale of an AED through American Red Cross and through our health and safety services, what kind of support are you going to give that business or that church as far as training their people on this equipment?
Locally, I can't speak for all Red Cross chapters, but because we feel so passionately about getting these out locally, with the purchase of AEDs, we will train anyone for that first year. We will go out to their site, we'll allow them to come in. AED training is very short. It's more the precautions, not to be in water, for example, when you're going to put the pads on and deliver the
Right.
shock. You don't want to become part of the problem. So we will help train, we'll help educate, we'll help walk you through the process with any of these companies. Again, you're dealing directly with the company. You will be directly in contact with a rep who can either show you different units, who can tell you what you may need, how many you may need in site, what kind of cabinet you may want. Remember that here are adult pads. There are also units like this that will have pads for children. You don't want to deliver the same shock, obviously, to an adult that you would a child. There are units that actually, if you've put the pads on, they've analyzed the rhythm, they're going to deliver the shock. But if at the time the shock is delivered, they sense a heart rhythm,
Right.
it will absorb the shock.
Oh,
So
wow,
there's
that's
all
great.
different features to these AEDs, and we are committed, obviously, to encouraging that.
Right.
Now, there are facilities already in existence. Several local retailers already have them. The schools have them. But again, if you're not trained to use them, they're going to sit on the wall.
Now, you also can provide training, even if
Exactly.
they already have the AED. You can come out and do what we call a full service program where they have a group of 6 or more, is that correct?
That's
Then we
correct.
can come out and do a training on site at their place of business, correct?
Right, and you really like to dovetail AED training with CPR because the two don't exist separately. You want to be doing CPR until you can get the AED ready. So you really like to dovetail those, as well as you like to get people comfortable that in an emergency, they have this so ingrained in their head, they can act. They're not afraid. They're not going to stand back and hope somebody else does it. They've been trained. They will step in. They will respond, which is the third aspect of Red Cross. It's not just prevent and prepare, it's also respond to emergencies. And hopefully this training will allow them to feel like, I can respond. I'm trained to respond. I will respond. And that's our goal as a health and safety portion of Red Cross.
Well, I think that is great. We're obviously very excited about some of the new equipment because it makes it so much easier. And really, what we want to do is create training, provide equipment that fits into the real world, a real world of very busy people, people that have businesses that maybe they can't afford to be away from time, or spend a lot of time away from their place of business. And so I think that this is going to fit in, and I think this will make a big difference. So again, our website, you want to share the information, our telephone number and our website?
Again, it's paducahredcross.org. It's easy to manipulate. You can go to that front page. It'll tell you where to go. And our phone number is 270-442-3575. We do have classes, normally community classes that you can take at the chapter. They're offered the second Saturday of every month and the third Monday and Tuesday night of every month. And again, you can go online, paducahredcross.org, and find the Register Online course and take it at your convenience. So there's really no excuse anymore not to be trained.
That's right, because we can get it easily. Heidi, thank you so much for all the hard work that you do in helping our community be more prepared, and for all that of course you do for American Red Cross. And I want to thank you as the viewer for supporting your local American Red Cross. Thank you.